I'm super excited. We have a great video planned for you. We're at Chrysler Carlisle 2024, or what I like to call the Mecca of Mopar. For example, they have a lot of cars that you just don't see every day. This is a 1973 Dodge Charger. Of course, you can see it has a 404-speed and a sunroof. It's one of only 14 made. And if we just walk down the row here, you can also see that they have a 1973 Cuda just roof for $1,200. We're not going to be able to cover everything in this show. They have way too many cars here, way too many barn finds. You're going to have to come out to Carlisle in person. But what I'm going to do is try my best and bring you everything from Mopar 2024. Here at Carlisle, we're going to take a look at some of the rarest demons in the entire world. And this one behind us is a 1971 Demon Sizzler. Now, what exactly is a Sizzler? Well, it was an appearance package to look basically like a fast car or a 340 Demon. This car either came with a 6-cylinder or a 318, and we'll take a look under the hood right now. You can see before we do that, it says Sizzler right there on the hood. Not something that you're going to see on your average Demon. We can see this one does have the 318 down inside, not the 6-cylinder. And we'll take a look here on the fender tag, and we can see that it does have a G denoting the 318. But to verify that this is a Demon Sizzler, we see A59 here for the Sizzler package right in the middle of the tag. Now this car basically was made for comfort. You can see it does have the deluxe seats in here with basically the houndstooth, I would call that. Not exactly sure what it's called for a Mopar, but it would have had an upgraded steering wheel. It would have also had carpet in this car, as well as the stripe down the side here. I'm not 100% sure if they made these in 1972, but in 1971, they made about 60,000 Demons in total. However, in 1971, they only made 1,200 Demon Sizzlers. I'm standing here in front of a 1970 Superbird barn find, and John is the owner of this car. And John, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, John. And I personally believe this is one of the most interesting cars here at the show. And what I wanted to kind of do is just ask you, what is the story with this car?
So the car was bought new in Davenport, Iowa.
Okay.
The car sat abandoned for many years in a field, and we acquired the car about 25 years ago.
Oh, so you've owned the car for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, okay.
Yep.
Now, did it look like this when you acquired it, or did you put it in the field, or was it in the field when you got it, or how?
Just the way you see it.
Just the way you see it, okay. And is this a numbers matching engine to this car?
No, it is not.
It's not.
No, it came with a 446 barrel, but at some point in its life it got swapped.
It got swapped over. And for those that aren't familiar, this car is a V code car, and what that means is it would have had a 446 pack on it, right? Or a
Correct.
6-barrel being a Plymouth.
6-barrel, yeah.
Yep. That code is right here in the VIN, of course, and then it's also here on the tag. Now, all Superbirds had vinyl tops on them, so they would have had a V19 here in the tag. They also would have had a B30 for the build date, which would have been about November 30th, 1969. One thing that I like about this car, John, is that you see a lot of these cars, kind of pictures on the internet. This one seems to be complete. The nose cone is original to this car, you think? Or
Yeah, I believe so.
It looks like the right metal on there.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it was replaced, and the wing on the back seems to be original, correct?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I also like that this car is a pistol grip 4-speed car, so that means that it of course would have had the Dana rear end.
Right, yeah.
All 446 pack cars got the Dana rear end. One of the most interesting things on this Superbird is of course these racks. Now, John, were these racks on here whenever you found the car, or what's the story behind these?
They were with the car, but not on the roof.
On the roof? Oh, okay, so you put them on. I think it looks great with them on there, by the way.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to check is the trunk, because these cars notoriously rust down in the trunk, and wow, for sitting in a field, I mean, this car still has a trunk in it as a Mopar. That's significant, in my opinion.
Right.
Kind of tells me the rest of the car is actually a little bit better than what I thought walking up on the car. Is this car for sale, or what? Ooh. And there's the Davenport, Iowa, says Lewis, Dockerman right there. What are you asking for this car? What does it cost for somebody to take this car home at the show?
Well, we got 125 on it, or
125. Okay.
Had a few offers on it.
Did you store this car in a barn or under a carport or something? It has dust on it. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it was inside a open carport.
An open
for about
carport?
25 years. Yeah.
I mean, it looks pretty good, in my opinion. I like how you still see normally you see some of them, and this logo is completely gone. You got the nice Plymouth logo. Of course, it's going to need some quarters. One thing that I really like about this car, again, is it is a pistol grip 4-speed, and it does look like it has a TikTok dash in it.
Yeah, TikTok tack.
That's pretty cool. And are those the original cigarettes from 1970 in there?
Yeah, they were in there.
The front windshield, it looks like they went fishing, had a few beers. And John's phone number is right here. If you guys are interested, please give him a call. Don't waste his time. He's asking $125,000 or best offer. Let us know what you guys think about this car in the comments below. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The truck behind me is pretty sweet. It's a Dodge Top Hat.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. And this is Colby. He's the owner of this truck. I don't know much about it other than the fact that they only made about 202 of these trucks back in 1978.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Colby, what can you tell us about the truck you brought here to the show? And I see that it is sold, right?
It is sold. Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome.
So it is a collaboration between Hickey Enterprises and Dodge back in 1978. They came together. Vic Hickey was kind of an off-road guy.
He's actually in the Hall of Fame,
yes,
the Off-Road Hall of Fame,
yeah.
and he kind of did work on the Blazer and the Humvee and the Land Rover, from what I've
correct,
or the Lunar
correct,
Rover actually,
correct,
from what I've read.
And so this was kind of part of Dodge's adult toy era.
Okay.
You know, they were trying to catch the eye of the younger generation, and so they came together to make this. Basically stripe package with an accessory package. It is missing the roll bar. So it would have come with the brush guard that's on the front, would have come on there. It had a roll bar with some off-road lights, basically a stripe package and the steering wheel inside. And that was basically it. You could add on extra accessories, but the standard package was roll bar, brush guard, steering wheel.
You mind if we open it up and see that steering
absolutely.
wheel? I didn't know that before I came here to the show.
Yep.
And I was told that, I think a few days ago, this truck wasn't together, or you put it together for this show
The
or
entire
something,
body was apart in pieces in a barn. It's been stored in a barn for the last 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't want to transport it in pieces.
And where did it show? Where was it at originally?
So this came out of Michigan.
Michigan, okay.
Yep. And I think it's been a Michigan truck its whole life. It's got the Michigan ORV stickers on the tailgate.
Okay.
So it's been used up there, I think Silver Lake area.
Is there anything on the tag on the door here that would show us that it might be a top hand, or was that just...
There was nothing specific to the VINs from Dodge, but they all had these labels that came from the dealership that labeled, which most of them are hard to read.
Obviously.
So yeah, it's hard to say. Some of the trucks were in a little better condition, but every top hand had this white logo when it was produced. So
now, what would have the engine been in this truck?
So this is a factory 440 truck.
Were they all 440s?
They were not all. You could get any engine combo.
Okay.
But this is a factory 440, non-AC, tilt column, factory tack. The sunroofs are aftermarket.
Oh, I just noticed that.
But I believe they were something, from that era.
I like the dual sunroof in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it goes with the truck.
It does.
Yeah. So.
And what is the truck behind us over here?
So, this is a '79 D150. It is a factory 4-speed overdrive.
Okay.
Bucket seat truck. But we believe it was just a dealer package. The vinyl graphics aren't as...
a beautiful...
Yeah.
Beautiful little logo right there.
So as far as like what the package would have been called, we don't really know. There's not a lot of information on it, so...
It's still a really cool looking truck.
It is a cool piece,
and both of them together, I mean, when you walk down the road here, it just stops you in your tracks.
Oh, they scream 70s all day long.
Absolutely. Do you mind telling us what you got for this truck? If not, that's okay.
Yeah, I don't really like to disclose. That's between me and the buyer.
Fair enough.
Just kind of out of respect for him. He
Have
can
to
tell
try.
somebody.
Have
He
to
can
try.
tell somebody if he wants to.
I have to try. There's not that many out there, so I didn't know where the market was at.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, it is kind of a hard market to pinpoint, exact value, but it just depends on how bad somebody wants something. And he's been looking for a couple years, and
That's a cool
the
truck.
availability isn't there, so when it comes up, he felt like he just needed to jump on it. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, Colby, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yep. So this year at the Mopar show at Carlisle, one of the main features is A12 cars, A12 Roadrunners, A12 Superbirds, and I'm standing next to a guy named Reed Stevens, and he actually has pretty much like a barn find A12 car here, and he's going to give us the lowdown on the history of this car and exactly what makes an A12 special. So Reed, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Awesome, Reed, awesome. The reason that I'm speaking with Reed is because he was here last year with a Charger 500.
Yes.
And you had contacted me, and well, I'll let you tell the story.
Yes. I actually, I feel bad because I was FaceTiming my son while you asked me if you could take a video. And then in your video, you can see me FaceTiming my son the same time you were taking the video. But anyway, I got a message that night back at the hotel, and they said, hey, you're going to want to see this video. Your car's in this video. And it was you, and I was highly impressed because you were showing me things that I didn't know, which takes some doing. I thought I knew everything about these cars. They're pretty close. On the 500, a guy contacted me, my brother, the next day, and let us know that he had some parts for that 500 that we really needed. So
and those parts are actually in this trailer.
they're in
over
the
here.
trailer, and he contacted me because he saw your video.
Okay.
So these parts,
And for those at home, Charger 500s, they didn't make that many of them. They're extremely, extremely rare, and to find parts for these cars is even rarer.
yeah, what happened in 1972 or 73, this car was wrecked. A guy died in this car back in Maine, and the car went to a junkyard, and it was sitting 6 cars high on a pile. The guy I got it from said, I want that car off that pile of cars. They took it down, he bought it for a couple $100. Someone at that point had already cut out the back window, the window plug out of that car, and taken the whole back. Luckily, they missed, as you saw, they missed the body numbers on the rain gutters just by that much. So on the trunk gutter. So I brought the car down for a couple different reasons. Shock and awe, of course, because it's so bad, and I love bringing them back when they're completed. This car will be restored OEM, so I need really good parts for it. I expected someone would tell me they have a rusty window plug. I did not expect someone would call me and tell me they had all the NOS parts I need directly from Creative Industries. So luckily,
And that was from people seeing the video that I made.
they saw your video when they went back to the hotel room, and they called me the next day, or they stopped by and said, I need to find Reed. These are the parts that he needs.
Let's take a look at these parts.
All right.
And so we'll get to the A12 here in just a minute,
Sure.
but these are 1969 Charger 500, which is more rare than the Daytona Charger.
These will work for both.
They'll work for
The
both?
Daytona and the Charger 500, yes. They could have went on either car, but they are specific only to Daytona and 500s. So,
So let's take a look at this. This is the trunk lid.
yeah, again, it appears rusty, but that's all Cosmoline they put on 52 years ago.
I almost don't even want to touch
No,
it.
it's fine, Parker. Yeah, so that's,
So this is a more common part, you would say?
No, I've
No?
never.
Okay.
The only way to get a trunk lid for a Daytona or a Charger 500 at this point is to find an original, possibly, which it doesn't really happen.
Good luck. Yours was all cut out.
Yeah, they do reproduce them because all they do is cut the original trunk lids off,
Okay.
and then they put this cap on the bottom. You can see how crude they just spot welded these from Creative Industries. They just put this cap on and they went bang, 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 bang across there, and that's what they did. And then they put these brackets on here. So those brackets there are different because you have those specific trunk hinges, which these are NOS as well, which hook on there. So, they hook on there somehow. I don't even know yet because I've never built a 500.
That's makes sense to me.
So,
Now this piece right here, this is what
This-
we call the plug.
yes. Yep, this is the window.
And for those that don't know, like on a Daytona Charger, like Joe Dirt's car, basically the back window is completely flush. It's different than a regular 69 Charger, and that's because it has this piece built into it right here. And you were showing me that this has some markings specifically from Creative Industries that tell us that it is an NOS part. Is that right?
Yes. The Creative Industries was known for hitting their parts with a spot of orange paint.
With the orange paint?
Yeah, that's how they signified their parts.
What's it look like on the back of this?
The backside has a bunch of these. See, this sits on your
Like a package tray.
Yes,
Yep.
your Dutchman panel that goes across, and then this sits down, and this would be your new rear trunk gutter.
And you're saying that there's only one of two of these in the
As
entire
far as I
world.
know, there's only two NOS ones. This one here, and there's one. The owner is the guy right behind us. Ted Stevens has another one.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
let's go check out the A12.
Excellent. Let's do it.
Now, Reed, you were saying that you came home in the hospital in an A12. Is that right?
I did. Yes,
That's a hell of a
actually.
story.
I have a picture of that car. My father, his family had video cameras and stuff, and they used to video the cars when they bought them. And his dad was a street racer, so he bought this same exact car, identical to it except for bucket seats, off our local dealership just to race a Mustang.
Oh my
So he
goodness.
took it out, he raced a Mustang, and then he handed the keys to my 16-year-old dad and said, "There's your car."
Now, you had actually showed me this car before I got here to Carlisle, and I think it is one of the coolest A12s. I mean, you can see all of the A12s out there have been restored.
Yeah.
What is your plans with this car?
Well, this was brought here for this specific reason, because most of these A12s are taken to the ultimate level because they're so rare.
Right.
So there's a lot of those out there, and they're beautiful. And this car will be the same way. When this car's completed, it will be so nice that you're not going to want to drive it. So
Understand.
I wanted it to get out and be seen like this, but I had parts for this car. I have everything for this car.
Oh, you do?
The
Okay.
engine is complete. The tranny is complete. I have NOS panels from one end of this car to the other that I bought before I had a car. So I knew I was going to
Man
look
with
for
a
the
plan.
roughest F6 green 4-speed Super Bee that I could find.
Cut everything off, put everything back
I
on.
have all the parts. We're ready to go. This is how I found it.
I was going to say, this is actually a Pennsylvania car, right?
This car was an hour and a half from here, and I've been coming to Carlisle for 26 years, and this car was literally an hour and a half from me every single year I was here.
Oh, wow.
So it's been
Any
sitting.
more cars where this car was sitting at?
There are some pretty rare cars there.
Might have to show that to the audience in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see a little bit right there. Do you
Yeah.
mind if we open this car up, though?
Absolutely.
Now, for the people that are watching this video that don't really know what an A12 is, I personally think they're the most underrated cars in the muscle car industry.
Myself as well.
What makes an A12 specifically desirable to the lay people at home?
The A12s, yeah, the A12s specifically were built because the designers from Chrysler would go to the drag strips and see what the people were doing right after they bought their new cars. So
Okay.
they went there and they said, they're dishing the wheels.
They're taking the
putting,
wheels.
They're putting hood scoops on them. They're, doing various things like that. So they were bold and they said, let's make a lift-off hood. They're pulling their hoods off and they're sitting them on their roof. Let's build them that way anyway. So this was, of course, the first lift-off, real lift-off hood car for Chrysler.
And what he means by lift-off hood is there's no hinges on this hood at all. It's got 4 hood pins on all 4 corners, and this basically hood lifts completely off, and that way you could cool the engine faster, like you said.
The downfall to that is a lot of people didn't pin them. So if you look at, there's a car right over there. Well, it's not there now, but there was a green Super Bee right over there that the hood was all scathed up.
We were
from
here.
the
We were
pavement.
here yesterday, and I saw a guy drop his hood.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
I had a heart attack.
Yeah, I told these guys they need help to come get me. So,
But these cars also had what, a 440 in them?
446 back.
A 446 back,
Yeah.
which is more horsepower than the Hemi on the street, or is
Well,
that kind of what I was told?
My grandfather, like I told you, went to buy a car to beat the Mustang. He wanted a Hemi. The guy says, look, this is a brand new 69 and a half. This will go better than a Hemi right out of the box. Can a Hemi take these cars after you tune them? Absolutely.
And it's lighter.
Yeah, could be, yes.
Was this a 4-speed, or what was this?
This car, yeah. So that was the deal. We needed a 4-speed because my dad's car was a 4-speed when he had
Gotcha.
it back in, when it was new. So we wanted a real 4-speed with some kind of documentations. This car has the broadcast sheet. Luckily, as bad as this car
Oh,
is.
you do?
Yeah.
You
it's
mind
right on-
taking us around?
Absolutely. That's a copy of it. I have the original back home.
Okay. I don't believe I've ever seen. Doesn't matter to me that it's a copy. Would it say A12 on the broadcast sheet here anywhere?
A12, it's not going to say on here.
It would
I
say
don't
a
believe.
different code.
Yeah, A12 is on the fender tag. But this is, you can see the M code.
M code?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a WM23M, and that M is, they're called M code cars
Right.
as well.
Understand.
Yes.
and that basically would signify that it's a Super B.
Exactly.
And it has the, I was surprised that it still has the emblem. This looks like an original emblem on the
This
front.
grill he gave to me when I picked this car up. As you can see, when I picked the car up, there was no grill.
Oh, I see that,
So
okay.
he gave me the grill. I brought a hood with me, and by the time I got home, the car was assembled because I assembled it at a hotel just for the fun of it. So, yeah,
That's
I did.
awesome,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
The guys online were looking at it going, every time you stop, the car has more parts on it.
You sent me pictures. I was like, well, hold on a second. There wasn't a fender in that picture before.
Yeah, I know, that's what we
just
did.
like there's not a fender in that photo.
Yeah, he gave me that fender. He's stopping by today, the owner I bought it from,
Okay.
and he's bringing me a full original quarter panel. And he's, you know, it's clean. It's off an original car. So I said, yeah, I'll take it. So, yeah, he's a good guy.
Well, Reed, I want to thank you for your time.
Excellent.
Thank you for
Thank you, Parker.
I just think this is one of the coolest cars here at the
I
show.
appreciate it, guys.
And one that I specifically came here to see, and it warms my heart to see.
Actually, you guys do a great job with your videos, so I'm glad to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. So I'm standing here with a legend, Herb McCandless, Mr. 4Speed. How are you?
Good to see you, sir.
Awesome, awesome. And this is his 1971 Hemi Cuda. It's actually, you raced this car in 74, though,
74,
right?
that's
in
correct.
74. It's a car that I've been following online that was restored here over the last year. They've done a spectacular job, and I'll let Mr. 4Speed tell us all about it.
Well, in 74, NHRA had legislated our cars out of the program. They had just made the rules where we were not competitive.
Okay.
And so Chrysler pulled the plug on all the pro stock stuff. And so, you know, we needed something to do, I guess. And Dick Maxwell talked to me, asked me if I'd want to put this car together and run super stock with it.
Okay.
They put 4 cars together, an A, B, C, and E car. And Ronnie had one, Leo had one, Landy had one, and I had one.
Gotcha.
So Dick Maxwell actually found this car for sale in Detroit in the newspaper. It was a 383 car.
Oh, so it wasn't originally a
Oh,
Hemi
no,
car.
it wasn't a Hemi car. It's a 383 car.
Gotcha, okay.
It was black. So,
Still a good car.
oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a nice car.
Most of your cars were originally black, right?
My 65
Just-
was. That was the only one that was originally black.
Gotcha, okay.
But we went to Detroit and bought the car, drove it home. Sonny Shipman flew up there and bought the car and drove it home. And of course, we gutted it immediately at the shop there. And I, had a place there in the Sox and Martin shop. And we just completely sandblasted the bottom, took everything out of it, lightened it up. We didn't lighten it a lot because it had to weigh 3,800 pounds, with me in it, or without me in it, I'm sorry. And that was before they started weighing the driver in the car. So we put the street Hemi in it, and Chrysler had some suspension deal they wanted me to try. They called it a leaf link. I called it a disaster. So we tore up 2 sets of rear springs in one day on the car. So we went back to our ladder bar setup like we'd been running on the exact same rear suspensions we ran on the Pro Stock car. And I think the record was like 1090 something, somewhere. I don't remember for sure. But I know we ran about 3/10 onto the record. We went to Irwindale to test with it. Let me back up. We went to the track to test with it at home before we left to go out there. We finished it the day before we were supposed to leave. I went up Piedmont, I let go of the clutch on this thing, and somebody had given us a new gear drive they'd come up with for the Hemi. And that thing sheared every gear on it by the top of low gear. There was parts coming out the hood scoop. Back to the shop, worked all night long, finished the car up the next afternoon, got it all back together, and O.D. Powell and Sonny left and drove out with the car, and me and Vaughn finally went and got some sleep. We've been up for 3 days. So we went out to Irwindale, made a bunch of runs at Irwindale with it, and the car was fast. And we went to Pomona and won class, and we only ran it 4 or 5 times, but I don't know if we ever got beat in it by anybody.
Now, did this car race with this livery every time it raced, or was it a different color?
No, it was just like this.
Just
Day
like
one.
this.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
2 guys there at home painted to start with, Richard Whittingham and Walter Thornburg. Walter's the one who put the girl on the hood scoop, and it's still there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I didn't see that before.
That was his artistic contribution to the car.
And one thing I was also told is that it didn't have gills on the side, being a 383 car
No,
when you got it.
we just got the gills and put them on the fenders. If you look at a real 71 Cuda, these grills are recessed.
Okay.
These are sitting on top of the fender. I cut the hole in the fender and just bolted them to it.
Oh my goodness, I didn't notice
Yeah.
that. Okay.
But see, they sit up on top of the fender. They don't sit down in the fender like a real 71 Cuda does. So, I mean, we've never claimed it was a real car or anything. Well, I don't get into that kind of stuff.
Right, right.
But we had a lot of fun with the car, made a lot of runs with it. I just love driving a 4-speed. That's where the fun was. See, we've been running Lenco for a year, and I hated that thing. All the real racers hated it. But they had to do something, because the 72 car that's sitting over here, The last run I made in that car was at Long Island, New York, running a match race for Jenkins. I went 9:01. I wanted to go 8:99 so bad because I wanted to be the first person to do that with a real 4-speed car.
And for those at home that don't know what this car is, this is your Pro Stock Championship car.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Very, very, very famous car. Do you mind just kind of walking us around the outside of this car
Yeah.
and kind of just telling us a little bit about it? And
Well,
just,
it's basically, you know,
It's a car
straight
like-
Hemi Cuda. We put it
Gotcha.
together.
Okay.
Now it has an Edelbrock fuel injection on it.
Okay.
Because these cars sit a lot, but boy, that fuel injection, you turn the key on for a few seconds and just touch a button, it cranks right up. The problem with this car is you're driving it, when it gets up to about 3,000 RPMs, you better be careful because it's going somewhere. I mean, it literally comes to life about 3,000. You can immediately tell when the tach passes about 2,800 and it just comes into a power band that's really strong,
Starts
which
pulling
is what
away.
it should have done.
Absolutely.
But my grandson called me the other night. He said, "Granddaddy, I was out driving that Cuda Convertible this afternoon." He said, "This car will get you in trouble." I said, "Yeah, it will." I drove it the other day. It's got one of Jamie Passion's 5-speed, the 4-speed overdrive.
Oh, it's a 5-speed.
It's a 5-speed, yeah.
Okay.
And
I
we
was
didn't have that. It had a regular Chrysler A833. We ran, people didn't really believe us when we tell them this. We ran regular Chrysler 18 spline A33 4-speeds.
Just
We
regular
ran them in that car. We ran them in from 65 up. That's what we ran. The gears that we had in our transmission, you go right down to the dealership and buy. We didn't have anything special. I mean, we ran the stock type 833 stuff because it was so good.
Now, did this car have a roll cage in it or anything? when
Oh
you
yeah,
raced
it had a
or-
full. I put a full cage in it. There's a picture of it somewhere. I think it was at Phoenix. It was really hot that day when I made the run. I flipped the top back and came up and turned over the top down. But part of the cage is still in there, but they cut the cage out of it for the street. You can still see part of the. That's part of the
Oh, okay,
original
yeah,
cage
there is
there.
a cage in it.
Yeah. Now see, they cut it. You can see where they cut it off right there. They cut the roll bar off there.
Now,
I had the bars up over here and down.
I've interviewed a gentleman named Levi Holmes, and he
Oh, yeah, I know Levi.
Yeah, he raced for Brooklyn Heavy
Yeah.
as well. And what can all you tell us about your relationship with that crew? And as far as was he just a sponsor of the car and you just raced? Or
He came in and bought the car.
So he bought the car.
He bought my '73 Pro Stock car.
Gotcha, okay.
And he had a couple of cars, and they were good cars, but
He wasn't winning nothing, is what I was told.
right. I didn't want to say that, but yeah, you're right. That's exactly what the deal
In the
was.
early '70s.
And
yeah.
so we painted a '73 car orange like this, and we went out, and of course I was winning just like I normally was. I mean,
you just came fresh off a championship.
yeah, and so did a really good job with the car. We had a lot of fun with it. Went really fast with it. They had a race at ATCO, and the rules were run what you brung. That was the only rules. Well, we brung a plenty. We built a 500 incher for that race.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I showed up there, and low ET was a 990 something. I'm sorry. Yeah, 890 something. I'm sorry, 890. Yeah, I got my years mixed up. Low ET was an 890 something, and the first pass I think I went 853. I ran John Healy, and John came over to me. He said, "Herb, how big is that motor?" I said, "It's big enough." He said, "I just made the quickest run I ever made in my life, and you beat me a train length." I'll never forget that.
Now, the engine that's inside here right now, is that the actual engine that you raced with back
Yes.
in the day? Oh, so
Yeah, we just
not
toned it
original to
down.
the car, but it's original to the
The
car.
car still had the same Hemi engine in it that when we raced.
Okay.
We found a couple of cars like that. Todd Warner found one of them and asked me to look at it. And I took the valve cover off and looked down in and saw the crane lifters that had the little springs. When you took the push rod out, they popped up so you could change cams without taking all that apart.
Okay.
And this was a few years ago. I told Todd, I said, "Todd, that's the motor we raced in that car." I mean, that's the real motor because nobody had them lifters anymore. They quit making them in the early
Mind
70s.
if we take a look around the back here?
Sure.
Now, are these the same style wheels that would have been on it
Yes.
back then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's just like it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen it in person, and you guys have a pretty large online following, and I'm one of the guys that have been following it get restored. I seen it when it was white and it didn't have any livery on it or anything like that.
Well, having a car, you can see for these cars, they're really nice cars.
Oh, there's
And our stuff was the nicest of the nicest.
Yeah, all of your stuff.
And
is
the
nice.
cars were first quality cars. People used to say that we had parts that they didn't have. Well, that wasn't true. We had better cars than they did. That's what we built better cars. That's what it amounted to.
And would you attribute that to just Sox and Martin, or would you attribute that to Brooklyn's involvement?
We had Buddy Martin sitting right over in the chair.
Right.
Buddy was great at putting the best people together for a job. He had Dave Christie that took care of Ronnie's car. Jake King built the engines for Ronnie's car. He hired Gail Mortimer to work with me, and Gail and I built this car from a body in white. It was a roof and a quarter panel and the floors when we got it. And we just spent a lot of time and effort doing things that other people didn't do to the cars.
So you guys have actually brought merch here to sell.
First time we've done it, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And what can you tell us, or where can they get it? We'll put the link down in the description below.
Well, Michael's website, you know, for the museum, he's got all this stuff on it. He's made these shirts. That day there was one of the best days I ever had. I stood the car up like that.
That's
this car. Yeah.
Okay.
Drove right through it, set the car down, went on down the track. Never even scratched the oil pan.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. And the reason there's so many pictures of it is I did it twice. I did it on the burnout, and NHRA, Bob Down, showed him throw me out, and Buster Couch said, no, he's going to run. So he told me to stage up, and when I let go of the clutch, it went to the moon again. And if you got the good picture of it, the back wheels are off the ground about 2 inches in low gear. And I never let out of it. I just kept on driving, pulled second gear, and set it on down, went on down the track.
I want to show them that this actually has the Sox and Martin logo.
Well,
they're on the front here.
The Hemi Challenge, which are these cars over here at Indy this year, will be the Sox and Martin Hemi Challenge presented by the McCandless Collection.
Oh, you're presenting it. Okay.
Yeah, which Mike has, put the whole deal together with Buddy, and so they're going to sponsor and help. NHRA loves the Hemi shootout deal, but Chrysler was the one that was, helping back it, and they just kind of fell out of everything. I don't know what's going on there. They don't have all the people that we knew. I hate to say this, but I don't really know anybody there anymore. And I used to know everybody.
And where can they get these at?
At the McCandlessCollection.com,
yeah, or the Facebook page?
Yeah.
Awesome, Herbert.
That's Michael's department.
Yep.
The only thing I know about a computer is you plug it in the wall and call the grandkids.
Thanks, Herb. You take care.
Okay, thank you.
So we just learned about Herb McCandless's Brooklyn Heavy Cuda Convertible, and here I have George Baptiste with me, and he was actually a mechanic for Brooklyn Heavy in New York. And George, how are you?
Fine.
And you're 92 years old.
92 years old.
92 years. And I was told that you ordered a 68 Hemi Cuda brand new.
Brand new.
And then the next year, you bought this.
That's
and
right.
What can you tell us about this car behind us?
This car, a buddy of mine, we were in the service, and he called me. He worked in Detroit for Chrysler.
Okay.
He gave me a number. He said, George, order this car. So I took it to my dealer, Idlewild Motors. The salesman, his name was Norman, a Jewish fella.
Oh, okay.
Handsome. And he said, well, he didn't have this number in his inventory. So I said, well, call the number in and let me know. 2 days later, he called me, the number's good. I said, did you order the car? He said, yes. 2 months later, I got the car.
And what did you pay for this car?
I paid $3,200 cash money.
And you were telling me that you took this car out racing right away, or how did that
Right
work?
away, that Saturday.
That Saturday.
That Saturday,
Oh my goodness.
my wife at the time, which is deceased, her in the passenger seat, we drove down 7 miles from Kennedy Airport, where I live, to downtown Brooklyn, First Avenue,
Okay.
where they street raced. Took on everybody. Came back with $6,200, 7 miles.
Doubled
Put the
your money.
car in the garage, dismantled the speedometer cable, and it was parked. And it never went on the street again.
That's the only time.
That's the only time it was on the street.
Undefeated.
Undefeated. Right. So I had an idea in my head, this is a potential. I parked it, and I used to take to the drag strip on a trailer, a single axle trailer that I fabricated myself, and I used to take it to the track and raced it all over. Englishtown was my home track, West Hampton.
Well, so you know Levi Holmes then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I met Levi at Englishtown.
And that's what I wanted to kind of ask you about is how did you get involved with Brooklyn being the mechanic, and to kind of describe his character to the people at home. He was the guy.
He was the guy. How I met Brooklyn Heavy. I was into this a place underneath the L on Atlantic Avenue.
Okay.
It was a warehouse, sort of, it wasn't a body shop. It was just a warehouse where they sold products for automobiles and stuff like that.
Sure.
And he came in, and he wanted a pair of slicks. They says, they don't sell slicks. So I was standing there, and I approached him. I said, you want a pair of slicks, Heavy? He said, yeah. You go out to Motion Performance out on Belt Parkway, out towards the island on the Belt Parkway.
Yep.
Motion Performance. You go out there, he has slicks. That's how I met Heavy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
And go ahead.
So, and then after that, I guess he went out there, and then I started to work with Ronnie Lyles.
Oh, you work with Ronnie.
Right.
Okay.
He bought the first Stockton Martin Cuda.
Sure.
He was at West Hampton racing George Gorvan. I remember he had like a lavender Chevelle with that old type lace on it at the time.
I had a Cuda where it had a flat hood or it had
Right,
the hood
right.
like
well, this whole car was in lace
Oh,
at
my
this time. That was the rage at that time, that lace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, they were making burnouts. I was there with a dirty old T-shirt, and not recognized and everything, and they were making burnouts. And so they parked the car, and I walked over to the car. I said, Ronnie, this car is not running. He said, what do you mean? Because we had a hot rod club on Hot Avenue. They were on Beth Stevens Avenue, right in the corner. And I used to see this Cuda, a white Cuda. And I said, one day, I was going to own one of those. I just had that thought. It's just what I wanted. That's a dream. So at that track at that time, I said, this car's not running. That Chevy is going to give you a real good run, and he's going to beat you. So he said, well, Speedman just tuned it up. Speedman Automotive. I said, okay. So you got a timing light? He said, yeah. Give me a timing light and a 1/2-inch wrench. So I said, get in the car, rev it up to about $3,000. I put the timing light on it. It was 28 total. I thought, come here. What did that say? He says 28. I said, that's why this thing isn't revving.
Sure.
So I put the 1/2-inch wrench on the distributor, turned it. I bumped that thing up to 36 and locked it down. He said, Speedman said, don't go over 30. I says, Ronnie, trust me. I guarantee you will beat that Chevrolet within 6 cars. And West Hampton, you went down the track and then you made a dip and you came up. The finish line was just at that break where you went down. Well, they went off and that Hemi just took off. When Ronnie went down, coming up the other side, George Gorvan was just making the line. He swung around, he came back down the return chute, almost as fast as that he was going. Dust was flying, he spun around in the little area they had with concession stand, jumped out of the car, and he says, where's that kid?
You fixed this problem.
He sent his followers over to me. I was in the stands, He came over. He says, what did you do? I said, you didn't have enough total timing in that car. And we had a little hot rod club on the end of Hot Avenue, the kids' hot rod at the time.
Sure.
My friends, Trevor Wisdom, his brother, Leroy Wisdom, a couple other guys, we had this little hot rod club. So he knew us down there. He said, would you want to tune my car? I said, yeah. At that time, they did street racing, and I was into street racing, but I never drove anything on the street racing.
So did you get paid to work on Brooklyn's cars, or how did that work?
Well,
or did he just it was a pleasure to work on
it
his
was
stuff?
a pleasure to work, and he paid me.
Right. Okay.
Like that, but I was chained. He was getting offers from Edelbrock and wine manifolds and stuff like that, cams, and I was putting them in for him. You know what I mean?
Oh, right,
and the old stuff. I said, "What are you guys going to do with this stuff?" "Oh, you can keep it." I acquired a lot of stuff. That's how I acquired a lot of stuff, and I had.
Speaking of acquiring stuff, those slicks, you told me that they were Ronnie Lyles' slicks.
No, not the slicks.
Not
the
these,
rims
oh,
alone.
the wheels, okay.
The wheels alone.
Gotcha, okay. The Keystone Classics.
Right, the Keystone Classics.
Gotcha. I wasn't sure if those were the actual slicks that you put on the car.
No,
or not.
no,
Gotcha,
no.
okay.
And like I say, I always like the Keystones.
Oh, I have several pairs of Keystones. So.
Oh, all my cars are all Keystones.
Yeah.
And
I think they look good on a Mopar, for
right,
sure.
right. And if I find them in a swap meet, the price is right, I would buy them.
Those are some skinny ones up there. I've never really seen those ones before.
Oh yeah. So anyway,
Is there anything else that you can kind of tell us about this car that's maybe tricked or tuned or anything like that, or it's just the way that it raced after you put it away in 1969?
Not really. Right now, this car hasn't got the original motor. I got the original motor in my garage.
Gotcha. Okay.
This is a motor that I put together for the car.
Was it originally a black? A12
All
car?
black, just like you see it. That's how the car. I got it to go at least in the mid-10s.
Okay.
That's why they made me put a roll bar in it.
Interesting.
And
I see that.
I decided not to cut the roll bar out. The first time I went to Brooklyn Heavy shop off of the avenue on Bedford-Stuyvesant Avenue.
Okay.
They had a big garage of the shop, with the cars. I walked in there. It's a bare floor. All of a sudden, a Doberman came out rushing me, and I just went, wow! That Doberman just stopped like that, and I just stood in that position. And Heavy said, don't move, don't move. I didn't even speak. He came over, and he grabbed the dog, he took it. He said, man, that's the first time that dog ever stopped. I said, I showed him I had no fear about him. A lot of people, they scamper and that's when the dog attacked. But I stopped him right in his track, and I just stood there frozen. And that dog just stood there and just looked at me. We looked at each other, eye to eye, man. I was about to move anyway. I knew enough, don't move. And that was it. And that's how I went to his shop. That's the only experience I had. Heavy was the nicest guy I have ever met.
That's what I've been told. But he has a reputation of just basically being like everyone listened to him,
That's right.
So I wasn't
What
sure.
he wanted, he wanted. How he got it, I have no idea. But to me, he was the nicest guy I ever met.
I'm hoping that maybe they can make a movie about the guy. And the whole crew back.
I'm
up
sorry that he went into a prison. It
Well,
took
yeah.
a lot of years off him, you know what I mean? And I don't think he deserved it. There's more to the story that everybody here.
Well, hopefully.
I know for a fact what the deal went down. I'm not divulging anything. I'm not mentioning any names or nothing. But I'm going to take it to my grave. I will never tell the story, but I'm going to take that to my grave because I don't think it is going to make any factor in anybody's life.
Sure.
Without knowing. Leave it be.
Awesome, George.
That's the way I
Thank
feel.
you so much. We came here for the Brooklyn Heavy car. I just want people to understand why that car is important, at least to the community,
Right.
And the work that I've been doing on YouTube recently, bringing out stories from people up in the Northeast. And
Right.
he's definitely one of the characters that is, I would consider the linchpin.
Oh yeah.
But he's not here today and we can't talk
Right.
to him, so I have to talk with guys just
Guys that knew him. That's correct. I'm glad because I watched you on TV
Oh, thank you.
when you was interviewing Holmes. I says, I got to meet that guy. And here you are.
Here I am, and I just
That's
walked
right.
right up to you.
That's right.
Awesome,
And
George.
I knew when I first looked at it, I said, I know this guy. I appreciate having you here.
George, thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, guys, we came, we saw, we conquered here at Mopar Nationals 2024 at Carlisle. Again, we weren't able to cover everything here at the show. This is a very, very big event. There was a lot of cars that we weren't able to get filmed for you guys. Again, my name is Parker with Backyard Barn Finds, and if you found any value in this video or were entertained, please give us a like or subscribe. You guys have a great day.